I've been making video game collecting series on my main channel, Phoenix Resale, for the last 3 years. From the GameCube Gambit to now Mission Switch, these series have been a lot of fun, relatively easy to make, and people love them. I believe in the last 3 years, I've come to a point where I'm making the best console-based collecting series on all of YouTube. And yet, despite all of these positive things, once Mission Switch finishes in maybe late summer, I have no plans of starting another video game collecting series, which begs the question of why not? But before I can answer that, it helps to take a little bit of a look back at where the collecting series started with the GameCube Gambit. This started in early 2021 and went for over a year, 25 episodes of collecting GameCube games. And this series, at least the period that this series was active, my channel went from averaging, I think like 30-ish thousand views per video to around 80. And the GameCube Gambit played a huge part in that. I realized that people love having an actual series to come back to. And I wasn't just uploading GameCube Gambit videos, I was uploading random like convention videos and collection purchases and pawn shop hunting and collaborations and, anything that I could think of in addition to GameCube Gambit. But this period here represented some serious growth in the history of Phoenix Resale. Shortly followed up by my next collecting series called the PlayStation Project. This actually was significantly different in format. You can see there are only 7 videos in this entire playlist, which I filmed in order, one video every single day, trying to end up with 100 PlayStation games in the same budget-constrained format that worked so well with the GameCube Gambit. Now, these videos at the time probably only averaged maybe 70K or so views per video. I realized people were not nearly as interested in the original PlayStation as they were in the GameCube, and I'm not sure to this day, I don't really know whether like the daily format was really as optimal as like weekly or semi-weekly uploads. But a while after that finished, how long was it? Probably a few months. I moved on to Mission Switch, which many of you guys know and love today. Starting out with this absolute banger, starting a Switch collection with no money. And at this point, I've made 25 episodes of this series as well. And one of them, actually, spoiler alert, is coming out on Sunday. It's been a little bit on the main channel since I uploaded another one. Now, folks, in the year and a half since I started this, Mission Switch, a few other important things have happened. One is I hired a professional thumbnail designer, and I also started uploading fewer videos overall. I went from 2 a week to 1 a week, which the combination of all of those things brought my average views up per video to over 100,000, probably more like north of 150K or so, which is, again, another really fantastic jump. So I can hear you asking, Caleb, what the heck are you doing? Why are you jumping ship here? People like this series. People are asking for more like it. Why wouldn't you just start like the, GBA Gambit, right? Or I had someone suggest the Wii U Wangle. I was like, what the, I'm not just making up words here. What is a wangle, dude? Like, give me something to work with here. Now, folks, before you pick up your pitchforks and start rioting, there are a few factors, both on my channel and on YouTube as a whole, that have changed since the GameCube Gambit that I want to explain. The first one is, at this point, I'm only uploading twice a month. This is down from all the way back in the GameCube Gambit. I was uploading twice a week, which means that I've gone from having 8 slots in a given month to experiment with cool new things and tell new stories and take on big projects to now just 2. Now, I think that has been a really good decision for me, especially in the era of 1UP and trying to, get that thing off of the ground and make it into something special for video game resellers. But it does mean I have to be really selective with the ideas that I'm actually able to pursue, especially the ambitious ones that make me really excited about creating stuff on YouTube. And the reality is, if I maintain Mission Switch or another collecting series for a long period of time, it means that one of those 2 slots every single month basically is taken up by that collecting series, which is a significant sacrifice creatively. The other big thing that a lot of people don't take into account, especially if you've joined the channel more recently, is I've now told that collecting series story over 50 times. There are 25 episodes of the GameCube Gambit. By the time Mission Switch is done, there will be over 30. And even though it is a really excellent time-tested format, it's really satisfying for other people to see a collection being built over time, and I do enjoy making it. At its core, it is still the same story. It's the same formula, it's the same quest, and I've really been enjoying recently doing other things. And the last big thing that has changed in terms of the platform since the GameCube Gambit is when I started out, there was no one else making a console-based collecting series. There was Retro Rick doing the $10 game collection, and there were of course other game hunting channels more generally, but at this point you can not only watch me go out and collect Switch games, but you can watch people building N64 collections and GameCube collections and, PS2 collections and Dreamcast collections. There are all kinds of people that are doing a similar format that you don't just have to come to Phoenix Resale to watch it. And actually, my favorite thing to watch recently has been all of the other channels who are really innovating on the live video game hunting formula. For example, I'll just give you guys a few here. Mort's Garage is a channel that I know a lot of you guys know that does basically long form video essays on video game collecting topics that are also interspersed with game hunting content. And JRPG Life is doing a really cool series where they try to find the cheapest good games on every Nintendo console. Also, they do crazy things like going to every single GameStop in their state. And Cody with a K is another excellent channel. He's trying to build a $10,000 video game collection as fast as he can while only spending flip money. He's a Facebook Marketplace fiend, that one. And while, let's be honest, the kind of content that other people are making doesn't really have any bearing on my channel, it does make me feel a little bit better in having so many great channels to refer people to who are like, oh man, I'm really going to miss this stuff that you used to make, Caleb. I can say, oh, well, hey, go check out Cody and Mort and Dan and Elisa. And I have a list of a dozen other really solid video game hunting and collecting channels that people can absolutely get their fix from that niche on, while I'm just trying out new stuff because that's a formula that for me, I've kind of worn out for myself. And folks, while I have to say it is pretty nerve-wracking to make a significant pivot in your content, it has been so fun to start to learn brand new skills of interviewing and getting more into scripting for doing more long-form thoughtful videos on the main channel. I think it was back in early December that I first said in a Mission Switch video that I planned on pivoting my content and uploading less and also doing more businessy, kind of long form interview style content with other people's businesses, not just featuring mine anymore. And since then, I've realized a couple things about those kinds of interview videos. One is that it's the kind of content that I really wish there was more of out there. I find myself craving watching that kind of content more. I watch all kinds of millionaire or billionaire interviews on, channels like Noah Kagan, for example, that's all about how did you grow your business and stuff. But within the collectible space, that really doesn't exist on YouTube right now. And the really cool thing about where I am specifically in my YouTube journey is the main channel gets me into rooms because of its follower count that otherwise I probably wouldn't be able to get into. I'm realizing when you have the combination of sort of a peripheral awareness that a lot of YouTubers in the collectibles world may have of the main channel, and also the people who aren't familiar with me, if you just have that raw follower count, people just from the outset, even if you're a stranger, are more likely to take that call, and hear that pitch and see what kind of value I hope to provide for them than they would be if I was still at 10K subscribers. So in that way, I weirdly have kind of a competitive advantage now for making really cool collectibles business interview content because of the size of my channel. And I mentioned briefly how kind of scary it is as a YouTuber to make a significant pivot in your content. It's well known that stepping outside of your core niche is a really dangerous thing to do and usually doesn't go well on YouTube. But the craziest thing that I have seen since starting this in early December is actually the opposite, weirdly enough. I'll actually show you guys. Check this out. So this video right here kind of marks the beginning of the pivot, right? This is the one where I talked about how, look, look at Rick right there. This is the one where I talked about how I was going to start changing my content. And then this one was the first ever, like this entire video here, 42 minutes long, was fully scripted, which I pretty much never do. Just like going through every single year of my resale business, the different lessons that I learned and the money that I made. And then from there, check this out. We have the reality of owning a Pokemon card business, a very different video for me. But look at that, 326,000 views. And then we have the brutal reality of owning a video game store. My best video ever on this channel at 2.5 million. Then we go back to Mission Switch, and now look at this crazy reversal. 114,000 views. At this point in the channel's history, Mission Switch is actually bringing the average down, which some people may look at cynically and say, oh, okay, the reason that Caleb is stopping these collecting series is now like, you know, they're not getting above average views anymore and he's just in it for the views. But wait, shoot. Not supposed to be doing that. That's old Caleb that would be considering the haters. New Caleb has the blinders on and he doesn't care what people say. Remember that. The more accurate reason I would say is if there's one thing that I've learned from the last 4 years being on the platform is when you stumble upon that magical intersection of the things that you're really excited about making and the kind of videos that there's clearly a hunger for out there in the broader population, that's not the time to second guess yourself. That's the time to lean in and to double down. And it's clear that there are a lot of other people out there who are really excited about card shop interviews for, 40 minutes. The sad future of video game vendors, which if you guys don't know was actually a pretty optimistic video. Clearly not as many people interested in the brutal reality of making a reseller app there, so lesson learned on that. But folks, I've got to say, even with this one, that was one of those projects that falls into what I consider like special projects of like really long, really scripted, like high effort. That video was filmed over the course of 3 months. Even though it's my worst viewed video literally in years, I'm still so glad that I made it and that I made the time to make it, because it's one that I know I'll be really happy to look back on in future years and be like, oh yeah, that's what it was like in the early days, right? Even though it didn't resonate at all with my current audience, it seems like the stuff that is at least somewhat collectibles related is really the sweet spot in terms of viewership. But giving myself just more time, right? More space in a given week, in a given month, to do those kinds of projects. Once Mission Switch is fully wrapped up, we're not cutting it short, we're not doing anything like that, especially given that we're so close to the finish line. But just to give you guys a little preview, since you've bared with me rambling in my empty room for this long today, I'm gonna give you a little taste that I don't think I've talked about before on this channel of a couple ideas I'm especially stoked about. One of them is already filmed, that is coming out in early June. It is an interview with a very controversial, I'll say, video game CEO. It's one of those times that it's one of those projects that like earlier I probably wouldn't have taken on because it's not super within, specifically like collecting or specifically reselling, but it's going to be a really fascinating video. That one's coming out in early June. And then in early June, I'm also filming another massive project, which won't come out till significantly later this year, maybe like September, which is getting to film the reality of owning a video game convention. I'm guessing a lot of you guys probably have an idea who I'm going to be doing that video with, but it's going to be the first like almost semi like documentary style video that I'm trying. It's going to feature me probably less than any video in the channel's history, and I'm going to try to spend the vast majority of the time just sort of as an observer, getting to be a fly on the wall for all the random hiccups and bumps in the road and unforeseen problems that come with trying to get an event of that size up off the ground from like the day before starting all the way through, when the last table is folded up and the convention center is cleared out. So the other thing that is going to continue to change is the average upload you guys have probably already have seen is now over a half hour long. That's not going to change since I'm only doing 2 videos a month. I want those 2 videos to be really nice and beefy. Hopefully you guys are excited about that change, kind of like I am. At least if nothing else, you can feel my energy, and if you're not and you hate my guts, then you can go watch Pixel Game Squad.